So, talk to me about your first time reading the script. What really drew you into the world, into the roles?
It's just really smart writing. That's what I found, and dynamic characters, and each with their own kind of potential to move forward. So I felt like even if there was like Anne Hale in the first episode, I was intrigued what would happen with her, what would happen with John and Mary and Cotton, and none of the characters were black and white, so I wasn't sure who I was meant to trust, which I quite liked.
Right off the page, every character was very interesting. It was very, and it made me get invested into the pilot, immediately. Then being able to work on that first episode and be able to work with Brad and Adam, we were able to see where they wanted to go in the future, and that made it even more exciting.
What do you think this version of Salem says about the period or the history of the characters that hasn't been said before?
Witches were real. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just hysteria, and take that as you will. From the work that I've done and from growing up in England, that the history of witchcraft goes way beyond, the finding of America and this new world. Mm-hmm. That whatever you believe a witch to be, in Puritan society, anyone that was different or women that spoke up to a man or had a different opinion from a man, they were a witch. Mm. So whether they were casting spells, that didn't really come into it. So I think that taking the metaphor almost of like what a witch is and putting them in control is definitely interesting.
What can you tell me about some of the specific research that went into it for you, and maybe some things you were surprised to discover?
One of the things I was surprised to discover were you think of during this time period, witches being burned. It's a classic thing, and I guess which was more of at least a myth at this time. They were more hung or stoned or drowned or anything like that. So that stood out to me because I just assumed ignorantly that was one of the ways of torture. But for myself into the history, this is a historical fiction. We have a license to tell a story differently. So I wanted to get a little bit of the background of John Alden, but I didn't feel all of it fully necessary, considering we weren't going to explore other parts of his life. We're just exploring at least for Alden, this period of time during the Salem witch trials.
So we don't see much more of the 7 years that was lost between you two?
We
could.
We could,
And we do. We might. We will. But it's not. What I enjoy about it is it's not right off the bat. You'll see. I think you get to see of what happens with Mary during those 7 years.
A little bit of it, yeah. I think what's interesting about the writing is that we've gone back in certain episodes and given snippets of things to the audience, but hopefully, because it's 7 years, we can continue to do that.
It's little teasers, Mm-hmm. It's to keep people attracted to that past and to wonder what's brought them to where they are today.
What are you most excited for people to see over the course of the first season?
Everything, really. That's such a broad question. I think it all combined is just the story. There's not one. You can't take just one element of the story. I think the location that we're shooting at and the performances that people are giving, I think are pretty awesome.
I think it's just,
the costumes. Mm-hmm. I think
and see how the characters develop throughout this story, and it's a telling of it is cable. That's one of the luxuries that we have of doing 13 episodes. We're telling a story through these 13 episodes. It's not a 22 episode arc where you have plenty of one-offs to get through those 22 if you've run out of ideas. If you're the writer, this is one epic that we're putting to you.
Yes,
and giving
13
to you,
hours.
Yeah, once a week, and I think the whole package will be exciting for the viewer.
Oh, thank you so much. I take that as a compliment.
We're off and running.
You'd be a sharp cheddar.
Yeah, he played the chef. Then also the owner of the hotel that all of the cast stayed in. He was in the movie.